Continuing our series of backpack gun builds, tonight I wanted to talk about my 7.5-inch 300 Blackout. And this is one of the most iconic rifles that I built back in the day. And if you recall from my page, Keystone Carry, on top of this used to be a Strike Eagle, not a Strike Eagle, a Viper PST 1-4, and I used to have an Enforce APL on the top. It's changed quite a bit over the years, but there's some things that have stayed the same. So the point of these videos is to show you some specific gun builds and give you some encouragement and hopefully some pointers and some tips and tricks as you start to embark out on your gun build. And then at the end, I'm gonna give a little bit of reasoning why I did what I did and also some pros and cons of this particular build. So I feel like 7.5-inch barreled 300 Blackouts are about a perfect length. They're still small enough to fit in really discreet bags like the Vertex commuter sling. If you want to see a video on that bag, there's a link in the description. You can definitely go check that out. But 7.5 inches gives you potency with your velocity of your round, gives you flexibility and even more reliability than micro 300 Blackouts. The downside of it is the fact that you are going to have a little bit more size than, say, my micro 5-inch 300 Blackout. Going from the front to the back, we have a Silencer Co. ASR brake on the end. I'm not a fan of brakes. I got this brake with my suppressor when I bought that 5 or 6 years ago. I threw it on this rifle, and honestly, I've never changed it because I typically only shoot this gun suppressed. Up top, we have a Streamlight TLR VIR2. This is one of my favorite budget lasers and illuminators. If you're looking for something on a budget, this is a solid option. Moving back, we have an SLR rail. This is an M-LOK rail. It's one of their very, very lightweight rails, and it does allow me to mount some Picatinny sections, but it's also extremely lightweight when I'm carrying it in my backpack. Maybe not the most rigid rail. If you wanted the most rigid, maybe a quad rail would be a little bit better, but this is a very functional, very lightweight rail. I do have a BCM vert grip on here, and it does index really well. It helps me to locate my hand on the gun. When we're talking about short rifles, it's very important not to put your hand over the muzzle. Moving back here, we have a Vortex Crossfire red dot. This is an extremely budget-friendly red dot, but it's one that I've had a lot of success over the years. I've had around 12 units, and in that time of having 12 of these Crossfires on various builds, I had one failure. It was my fault. They warrantied it, and then I got a new unit coming back to me, so no harm, no foul there. The upper receiver, it's an Anderson. It's nothing fancy. Lower receiver is an Anderson as well. We've got the Geisley SD3G trigger in there. On this side, the bolt catch, bolt release is from Geisley as well. It's a larger unit, easier to index, easier to use. It's textured, so it's very easy to find even with gloves on. All of my builds that are in backpacks that are ultra short or in compact bags are gonna have 20-round magazines. So I do have a Lancer 20-round 300 Blackout mag for this particular gun. This is a pistol length gas system on this upper. Moving back, standard charging handle, standard forward assist, standard all other controls, nothing fancy going on here. All of my bag builds that do not come with a folder have a Law Tactical folder on them. This is no exception at all. Standard buffer tube. I don't even know what buffer weight, what spring I'm running, but it does run subs, supers suppressed, perfectly fine. It also runs subs and supers unsuppressed, perfectly fine. It is a little bit gassy with the can, but it's a DI gun and it is what it is. BCM stock, this is the same stock, same lower that you saw me running on my 5-inch 300 Blackout upper. Moving to the back, we've got a sentry strap over the buffer tube. We've got a sentry strap up front, and we still have the blue force gear sling. This is a nothing fancy sling that I bought probably 7 or 8 years ago, and it just works for me. Does exactly what I want to do. So the purpose of this particular build originally was coyote hunting. As we've progressed in predator hunting, we've implemented night vision. We have pretty much entirely switched to 16-inch or longer guns with dedicated thermal. So when I retired this gun from my hunting arsenal, I decided that I was just going to make it more of a nighttime, do-all, fun, suppressed, but still capable to be thrown in a bag rifle. And the bag that I typically would carry this in is either the Ready Pack or the Commuter Sling 2.0. We did videos on both of those bags. You can check them out in the link in the description. Check out our YouTube channel. You'll find all that information. We do offer those bags on our website as well. So as far as accuracy, this is an extremely accurate upper receiver, runs extremely well, good reliability. I've run untold amounts of ammunition through it. It's extremely reliable, subsonic or supersonic. I've had no issues whatsoever with this build. When I chronograph this particular rifle too with 130 grain spear varmint loads, I'm right at about 1900 feet per second. So when you think about carrying a rifle with you daily, this is much more potent than a sidearm. Now the cool thing about a bag gun is you can still implement a sidearm into your everyday carry, but you can also have the option to have a discrete, very potent carbine rifle, SBR, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to carry, on tap as well. And I feel like I checked all those boxes off with this particular 300 Blackout. And that is why it's one of my favorite builds in my lineup. So if you have any questions about this build or any of our builds that we've discussed, or anything that I might have left out, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure you like our page, subscribe, share the video with somebody who's building a 300 Blackout. Check out our website while you're there. If you thought this video was helpful, if you like what we got, definitely consider grabbing something on our site. Appreciate you guys. See you next time.